Hi Seals, welcome back. Hope you're nice and well. It's been a very nice sunny day here today, so hopefully you've managed to get outside and be in the sun. So we're on chapter 17. So we've just found out about the Underlibrary in the British Library in London. Grandad's taken Tilly and Oscar there because they know about the characters in the book. Tilly and Oscar looked at each other in confusion. Grandad's tone had implied something huge and grand, but they were standing in a narrow corridor with wooden floorboards and doors lining the walls that curled round into darkness. It was far from unpleasant, but the majestic towers of books that they'd come from were much more impressive, and Tilly had grown used to book magic transporting her somewhere wild and wonderful. "Where did you say we were exactly?" she asked, looking up at Grandad. "The Underlibrary," Grandad repeated, gesturing. "Do you know something I don't?" Oscar said to Tilly. Tilly shook her head in response, and he elbowed her into another question. "What exactly is the Underlibrary?" Tilly asked. "We did the whole flippy magic thing in a lift, but we're just in a normal corridor." "Oh, are we in a normal corridor that is actually in a book?" What book is there an Underlibrary in?" Oscar said to Tilly. No, Grandad was flustered and frustrated. "The Underlibrary is not from a book. This normal corridor is where all the flippy magic, as you so casually put it, Matilda, comes from. Perhaps you'd better follow me." Grandad set off down the corridor, and Tilly and Oscar followed. Tilly was so focused on keeping up with Grandad that it wasn't until Oscar nudged her and pointed to one of the doors they were passing that she realised some of the signs were a little out of ordinary. In between accounts and HR, they passed the map room, classifications, and character registry, and all the signs were prefaced by a string of numbers and dots. It didn't look much like either the calm, modern British Library upstairs or the cosy, friendly public library down the road from Pages & Co. Oh, look, we've finally got a picture, look. You see them in their corridor. Okay. Eventually, the corridor ended in a set of wooden double doors with twisty carved handles. "Let's try this again," Grandad said, and pushed them open. "That's more like it," Oscar said as he stepped into a room that was exactly what you might hope a secret magical library would look like. The ceiling was painted deep turquoise and billowed high above them, cradled by ornate wooden arches. The floor was also wooden, and the sound of their tapping heels echoed around them, mixed in with hushed conversations and the whispering of pages being turned. They had entered through a door that was set into one of the narrow ends of the rectangular hall. The wall that faced them was painted cream and hung with wooden panels covered in gold, writing above double doors that mirrored the ones that they had just come through. Between the two sets of doors, 5 floors of long aisles lined with shelves and shelves of books that opened out into the main room. Each aisle ended with an ornate metal grille. The central atrium was cut empty of furniture, apart from a large circular desk in the very middle, which was looped around a huge wooden box made up of hundreds of tiny drawers with golden handles. Carved into the front of the desk were these words: "Legra es peregrinarii." Think it's French. "What does that mean?" Tilly said, pointing. "Oh, it's not French. It's Latin," Grandad explained. "It doesn't have an easy translation, but the verb peregrino means to travel about, to roam, or to wander, so it essentially means to read is to wander. It's the motto of the Underlibrary." The hall was full of people wearing navy blue cardigans with a gold trim. There were people carrying books and files, groups of them talking in small huddles, and Tilly glimpsed even more on the floors that stretched away from the hall, writing at long wooden desks. There was a cluster of librarians nearby, sorting and loading piles of books into an elaborate paternoster. I don't know what that is. I have to find out what a paternoster is, or paternoster. Like a giant dumb waiter system. Oh, so loading piles of books into an elaborate paternoster, which is like a giant dumb waiter system. But instead of the plain metal boxes Tilly had seen being used to deliver food in restaurants, this was a large, intricate selection of wooden caskets hung together on coppery chains, being hauled up and down and sideways, and being sent off to different floors of the library as they watched. Every few seconds, the sound of peaceful chatter was interrupted by a thump as a man at the main desk stamped a book and threw it into a chute behind him. Okay, enough gawping for now. You'll have a chance to see more of it at some point, I promise. Let's go and find the librarian, Grandad said, gently poking Tilly in the back to get her moving. Oscar followed, his mouth still wide open in wonder. They walked over to the desk in the middle, and the young man who looked up as they approached wore an easy smile on his face until he saw Grandad. Oh, Mr. Pages, he stuttered. I don't think we were expecting you. No, I doubt you were, Grandad said, studiously avoiding Tilly's gaze. Is Amelia around? I don't know, sir. She'll probably be in her office. Shall I get someone to take you up? I know the way, Grandad said, smiling gently at the man who was now nervously straightening his glasses. Oh, yes, of course you do, he said sheepishly. Can I let anyone else know you're here, sir? That won't be necessary, thank you, Grandad said quickly. Let's go, kids. He ushered them past the desk where several of the people were now openly staring at them, and towards the doors at the opposite end of the hall. As they left the main atrium, Tilly looked back over her shoulder to see that every single Cardigan person in the room had stopped in their tracks and was watching them leave. Grandad, why is everyone staring at us? Tilly asked. Don't be silly, darling. They're just excited by visitors. This way, come on. The trio were in another long corridor lined with wooden doors, although this time they were not named but numbered. Grandad counted under his breath until he reached number 42, then stopped abruptly. This time Tilly and Oscar did plough into the back of him. Here we are, he said, and knocked sharply on the door. It opened to reveal a woman with very straight, long black hair, whose eyes widened at the sight of Grandad before her face broke into a broad and sincere smile. Archie Pages, it's been a while. Come in, she said, standing back to let them enter. They walked into a large, cosy, but decidedly normal office, not that dissimilar to the head teacher's office at school. A crumpled cardigan was hanging off the back of a chair behind a desk piled high with books and papers and a very new-looking computer. Amelia, this is Oscar Rowe, a friend, and Matilda. Amelia, this is Oscar Rowe, a friend, and Matilda Pages, my granddaughter. An expression that Tilly couldn't quite read swept across Amelia's face before she smiled and held out her hand to them. A large gold key on a chain round her neck swung as she leaned towards them. Welcome to the British Underlibrary. I'm Amelia Whisper, librarian. Pleased to meet you. Amelia gestured towards a collection of worn but comfortable-looking armchairs clustered in the corner of the office. She shrugged her cardigan on as they sat down, and Tilly noticed that there was an ornate key embroidered in gold thread on the breast of the cardigan, alongside the same Latin words they'd seen in the main hall. You'll see that not much has changed, Archie, she said. Cup of tea, anyone? Tilly nodded a yes, please. You've been here before, Grandad? She asked. Amelia laughed. Well, of course he's been here before. The librarian can hardly work from home. But you're the librarian, Oscar said, confused. Right, I'm the librarian now, but it used to be Tilly's Grandad, she faltered. You didn't know? No, Amelia, they didn't know. After everything that happened, Elsie and I decided it was for the best to start afresh, for Tilly's benefit, Grandad said. Several emotions flickered across Amelia's face. Well, I suppose that's your decision, Archie, she said in the end. Oscar and Tilly exchanged a confused look. Can I just ask? Tilly started, but Grandad and Amelia kept talking. I need to sit down with you at some point and talk about Enoch too, Grandad was saying. Who's Enoch? Oscar whispered to Tilly. I think he's Mr. Chalk, Tilly said. Would you mind not whispering while we're talking? Grandad said, much more sharply than usual. But we don't know anything, Tilly said, stung by Grandad's tone. You keep mentioning all these secrets and things and people, and I have no idea what is going on. And you just suddenly bring us to this hidden magical underground library and expect us to be quiet and nod along and drink tea, and you haven't explained anything. Oscar scuffed his heels together awkwardly, and Amelia became very focused on her cup of tea. Grandad looked at Tilly as though his heart had just cracked open. Oh, I'm sorry, he said. This can wait, Amelia. Matilda, Oscar, I suppose we should start at the beginning. Ooh, chapter 18. So they're in the underlibrary, and it seemed like a magical place, doesn't it, once they got down the corridor? And Tilly is very cross and confused at her Grandad because he's not explaining anything to her. And I think in the next chapter we're going to find out what's going to happen. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to be in school, so I'll be reading this story from school. And yeah, so we'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a lovely day, evening, or whatever time of the day you're listening to this. Bye.